Imagine this paradox. In an age when we can beam high-resolution images of galaxies millions of light years away, when we can detect ripples in space-time itself, gravitational waves, from the collision of black holes, we still struggle to grasp the fragile thread that makes life possible right here on Earth. We often speak of Earth as if it were inevitable, as if life, intelligence, and civilization were destined to arise. But the deeper we look into the cosmos, the clearer it becomes. Life on Earth may be less a certainty and more a miracle of improbable balances. And at the center of that improbability, there is a guardian we rarely think about, a planet that most of us glance over in textbooks, marveling at its colorful bands and iconic red spot, but never pausing to ask, what role does it play in our survival? That planet is Jupiter. To the untrained eye, Jupiter is just a gas giant, a colossal ball of hydrogen and helium, swirling storms larger than Earth itself. But to astronomers and planetary scientists, Jupiter is more than scenery. It is a shield, a protector, a gravitational juggernaut that may be the reason Earth is still here intact, habitable, and alive. Because without Jupiter, the history of Earth might have ended before it ever began. Picture this. You're standing on Earth 4 billion years ago, at the dawn of the solar system. The sky above is not serene, but violent. Meteors blaze through the atmosphere daily. Comets crash into oceans. Asteroids rain down like cosmic artillery. It was, quite literally, a shooting gallery. The young solar system was filled with debris fragments of rock and ice left over from the birth of planets. Any one of these projectiles, striking Earth at the wrong time, could have sterilized it completely. In fact, some scientists believe Earth was struck by an object the size of Mars, an apocalyptic collision that ripped away part of our planet and gave birth to the moon. Now imagine, what if such collisions never stopped? What if Earth had remained under constant bombardment for billions of years? Life might never have had the quiet stability it needed to evolve from chemistry into biology, from microbes into mammals, from mammals into humans. And here enters Jupiter. With its immense gravity, 318 times the mass of Earth, Jupiter acts like a cosmic vacuum cleaner. It tugs on comets, asteroids, and debris, capturing many into its orbit or flinging them out of the solar system entirely. Instead of slamming into Earth, countless objects have been swallowed by Jupiter's vast bulk or deflected into harmless trajectories. In this way, Jupiter may be the silent bodyguard of life. We live, breathe, and evolve under its watchful presence, whether we notice it or not. But let's pause and examine this scientifically. How exactly does Jupiter protect us? The solar system is structured by gravity, the invisible force that binds everything together. Every planet, every comet, every asteroid feels the pull of every other body. But Jupiter's pull is special because it is so massive. When a comet from the outer solar system hurtles inward toward the sun, Jupiter is often the first planet it encounters. If the comet passes close enough, Jupiter's gravity can do one of three things: capture it into orbit, creating a family of comets that circle Jupiter instead of menacing Earth; deflect it away from the inner solar system like a gravitational bouncer at the edge of a nightclub; consume it outright, pulling the comet into Jupiter's dense atmosphere where it burns and disappears. And this is not hypothetical, we've seen it happen. In 1994, the comet Shoemaker Levy 9 collided with Jupiter. Astronomers watched in awe as fragments of the comet slammed into Jupiter's atmosphere, exploding with energies equivalent to millions of nuclear bombs. Had that comet struck Earth instead, it would have ended civilization and perhaps much more. But Jupiter absorbed the blow. It is moments like these when we are reminded that our existence is not just a product of Earth itself, but of the entire architecture of the solar system, and Jupiter may be its cornerstone protector. But of course, the story is never that simple. Some astronomers argue that Jupiter may not only protect life, but also endanger it. Its immense gravity doesn't just deflect comets, sometimes it redirects them inward, toward the inner planets. In other words, Jupiter may be both shield and sword. Perhaps the reason Earth has experienced occasional mass extinctions, like the impact that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, is precisely because Jupiter nudged an asteroid onto a collision course. So here's the paradox. Jupiter may be both our protector and our occasional executioner. Without it, perhaps Earth would have been sterilized long ago. With it, Earth still faces catastrophic impacts, though less frequently. And that raises a profound question. What does it mean to be alive in a universe where survival depends not only on biology, but on the gravitational whims of distant giants? When we look at Jupiter, we see more than swirling clouds and colored bands. We see a metaphor for our own condition. Jupiter is both shield and threat, savior and executioner. And isn't that true of many things in human civilization? Nuclear power, for example, can light cities or level them. Artificial intelligence can cure diseases or destabilize societies. Technology, like Jupiter, protects and endangers. It is not the tool itself, but how it is used and how we respond. That determines survival. The cosmos, in this sense, is not just out there. It is reflected in us. And here's the bigger picture. What Jupiter does for Earth, other giants may do for other planets in other solar systems. When astronomers search for exoplanets, worlds beyond our sun, they don't just look for Earth-like planets in the habitable zone. They also ask, is there a Jupiter-like guardian nearby? Because without one, those Earth-like worlds may never get the stability needed for life to take root. Which means Jupiter may not just be protecting us. It may be one reason life is rare in the universe. Perhaps the cosmos is filled with planets like Earth, but without a Jupiter, most of them are cosmic shooting ranges, sterilized before life can flourish. And if that is true, then Jupiter is not just a planet. It is one of the reasons you and I are here, breathing, thinking, asking questions about existence. So the next time you look at the night sky and you see Jupiter glowing like a bright star, remember that distant point of light may be one of the reasons Earth is still intact. We often imagine our survival depends only on what we do here on Earth, and of course, our choices matter profoundly. But Jupiter reminds us that survival is also cosmic. It is shaped by forces far beyond our control, by giants we can barely comprehend. And in that realization comes humility. Because if a gas giant hundreds of millions of miles away plays a role in our existence, then perhaps nothing about our survival should be taken for granted. If you ever fly over Arizona, you may notice a circular scar in the desert, a mile-wide crater, perfectly preserved. It's called Barringer Crater, or simply Meteor Crater. About 50,000 years ago, a rock the size of a house slammed into Earth at tens of thousands of miles per hour. The energy released was greater than a nuclear bomb. That was a small one. 66 million years ago, a rock 6 miles across struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The explosion was catastrophic. Fires raged across continents. Tsunamis swallowed coastlines. Dust filled the atmosphere, blocking sunlight for years. Plants withered, ecosystems collapsed, and the age of dinosaurs came to an abrupt end. But that wasn't the end of the story. Out of that destruction came opportunity. With dinosaurs gone, mammals flourished. Eventually, primates appeared, and much later, humans. The same event that destroyed one world made ours possible. So, impacts are not only threats, they are creative forces. They prune evolutionary trees, redirecting the path of life. They remind us that extinction and survival are two sides of the same cosmic coin. Now, where does Jupiter come in? Imagine the solar system as a cosmic shooting gallery. Without Jupiter, Earth might have been struck far more often, perhaps sterilized repeatedly before life had a chance to stabilize. But with Jupiter, many of those incoming comets and asteroids are intercepted. Some are flung out of the solar system entirely. Others are drawn into Jupiter's bulk, leaving Earth unscathed. Yet sometimes, Jupiter does the opposite. It nudges an object inward, shifting its orbit until it intersects with Earth's. In this way, Jupiter is both guardian and gambler. It protects us most of the time, but occasionally, it deals us a catastrophic blow. We don't have to imagine Jupiter's role. We've seen it with our own eyes. In July 1994, the comet Shoemaker, Levy 9, broken into fragments by Jupiter's tidal forces, collided with the planet. Astronomers watched in awe as fireballs rose higher than Earth's diameter. The impacts released energies millions of times greater than the most powerful weapons humans have ever built. For a week, Earth watched Jupiter take the hit, and we knew instinctively that if those fragments had struck us instead, civilization would be over. It was a humbling reminder that our safety is not entirely in our hands. That survival often depends on cosmic players we barely notice. But let's step back, because while impacts are destructive, they also shape the course of life. The impact that ended the dinosaurs is the most famous, but it was not the only one. Earth has experienced at least 5 major mass extinctions, each wiping out vast portions of life. Each time, evolution restarted, rebalanced, reinvented. Consider this. Without the dinosaur-killing asteroid, mammals might have remained small, nocturnal creatures. Without mammals flourishing, primates may never have emerged. Without primates, humans would not exist. Our very existence is tied to catastrophe. We are, in a sense, children of extinction. And Jupiter, by controlling the rhythm of impacts, may have orchestrated the tempo of this evolutionary symphony. Too many impacts, and life is wiped out entirely. Too few, and evolution stagnates. But just enough, at the right intervals, and complexity emerges. It is a delicate, dangerous balance. And this raises a philosophical question. Are we here because of chance or because of design? Some argue it's chance that the solar system is like a casino, with planets and comets rolling dice across billions of years. Earth just happened to get the right sequence of impacts and reprieves. Others wonder, is it design? Did the architecture of the solar system with Jupiter in just the right place, with just the right mass, make life more likely? Astronomers searching for exoplanets now look for Jupiter analogs. Not just Earth-like planets, but Jupiter-like guardians. Because if Jupiter's role is essential for life here, it may be essential elsewhere. Without such a giant nearby, Earth-like planets may never get the stability life requires. And if that's true, then perhaps intelligent civilizations are rare, not because Earth-like planets are rare, but because Jupiter-like protectors are rare. But there's another layer to this story. When we realize that our survival depends on Jupiter's gravity, a planet 500 million miles away, we see our fragility more clearly. We see that civilization is not self-sustaining, not inevitable, not guaranteed. We depend on balances we cannot control, forces we cannot command, protections we often do not even notice. And isn't that a mirror for human society? Just as Jupiter stabilizes Earth, unseen forces stabilize our civilizations. Trust, truth, cooperation, responsibility. Remove them, and we wobble. Keep them, and we flourish. The story of Jupiter is not just a story of astronomy. It is a parable about how unseen forces shape survival. So the next time you look at a picture of Jupiter, those swirling bands, that great red spot, don't just see a gas giant. See a shield, see a paradox, see a player in the story of your existence. Because without Jupiter, you might not be here. And that realization should humble us. It should remind us that life is fragile, survival is improbable, and gratitude is not optional. Jupiter does not ask for thanks. But perhaps awareness is the least we can offer. 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system was chaos. A swirling disk of gas, dust, and ice circled the newborn Sunday. From this disk, planets coalesced, colliding, merging, and sometimes destroying each other in a violent ballet. In that early chaos, Jupiter formed first. Its gravity dominated the disk, sculpting the paths of other growing planets. It is so massive, more than twice the mass of all other planets combined, that it set the blueprint for the solar system we inhabit today. Without Jupiter, the inner planets, including Earth, might not exist as they do. Jupiter's presence cleared much of the debris that could have otherwise slammed into the young Earth repeatedly. Its gravity prevented a planet from forming in the asteroid belt, leaving that region as a buffer zone of rubble instead of another competitor. In short, Jupiter didn't just protect Earth. It shaped Earth's chance to exist at all. But Jupiter's influence goes beyond clearing debris. It affects the very rhythm of the solar system. Every planet orbits the sun, but those orbits are not isolated. They are tugged and nudged by the gravity of others, like dancers subtly influencing each other's steps. Jupiter, as the heavyweight champion, exerts the largest pull. Its influence helps stabilize Earth's orbit. Without Jupiter, Earth might have been perturbed into a more eccentric path, swinging wildly closer to and farther from the Sunday. Such swings could have destabilized our climate, making life as we know it far less likely. Instead, Earth enjoys relative orbital stability. We circle the sun in a near-perfect ellipse, close enough to keep water liquid, distant enough to avoid runaway heat. That stability, astronomers argue, is one of the hidden reasons life has flourished. And once again, Jupiter is at the heart of it. But the story grows stranger. Some models suggest that Jupiter didn't always sit where it does now. In the early solar system, Jupiter may have migrated inward, closer to the sun, before shifting back outward to its present orbit. During this journey, it disrupted other planets, scattering some, swallowing others, and even shaping the size of Mars. If Jupiter had not migrated the way it did, Earth might have been larger or smaller. Its orbit might have been different. Its climate could have been uninhabitable. The Earth we stand on today, with its oceans, mountains, forests, and people, may be the product of Jupiter's ancient journey. Now, let's leave physics for a moment and look through human eyes. Jupiter is the third brightest object in the night sky, after the Moon and Venus. To ancient civilizations, it was a wandering star, moving against the backdrop of constellations. Babylonians associated it with Marduk, their chief deity. Romans named it after Jupiter, king of the gods. In China, it was the year star, used to mark time in a 12-year cycle. Across cultures, Jupiter was never just a point of light. It was a presence, a symbol of authority, stability, and power. Even without telescopes, people sensed its significance. They gave it names of kings and gods. They wove it into myths of order and destiny. Long before science revealed its gravitational role, human imagination cast Jupiter as a guardian of cosmic balance. And in this case, myth and science align more closely than we might expect. In 1610, Galileo Galilei turned his telescope toward Jupiter and saw something that changed the world. He discovered 4 small points of light orbiting the planet now known as the Galilean moons: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. It was the first time humanity saw moons orbiting another planet. It shattered the belief that everything revolved around Earth. The cosmos was larger, stranger, more complex than we imagined. And once again, Jupiter was at the center of revelation. Galileo's discovery fueled the scientific revolution. It showed that Earth was not the center of the universe, but one planet among many. And it all began with Jupiter. Today, we know those 4 moons are worlds of their own. Io, volcanic and tortured. Europa, with an ocean beneath its icy crust. Ganymede, larger than Mercury. Callisto, scarred with ancient craters. These moons are not just companions to Jupiter, they are laboratories for understanding the possibility of life elsewhere. Europa's subsurface ocean, kept liquid by tidal heating from Jupiter's pull, may be one of the best places to search for extraterrestrial life in our solar system. In this way, Jupiter is not only a protector of life on Earth, it may also be a cradle of life beyond Earth. If microbes swim in Europa's ocean, then Jupiter is not merely our shield. It is also our sibling in the story of life. And yet, Jupiter remains a paradox. Its gravity protects Earth most of the time, but occasionally sends asteroids our way. It stabilized our planet's orbit, but may also have caused disruptions in the early solar system. It shields life, but it also kills. Is Jupiter a savior or threat? The answer is both. But perhaps that is the point. In the universe, forces rarely play a single role. Just as fire can destroy or sustain, just as water can drown or nourish, just as technology can free or enslave, Jupiter is both danger and defense. To survive in the cosmos, we must learn not to fear such dualities, but to understand them, to live with paradox. And here is where Jupiter's story reflects back on us. Civilization, like Earth, depends on stabilizers we often overlook. We rely on trust, on truth, on cooperation. When those forces hold, we thrive. When they falter, we wobble. Jupiter teaches us humility, that survival is rarely self-made. It depends on forces beyond us, on balances we did not design. But it also teaches responsibility, that once we recognize those balances, we must protect them. Because just as Jupiter shields Earth, we must shield one another. We've seen Jupiter as shield, as architect, as paradox. But Jupiter is not just a scientific player in the cosmic drama. It is also a symbol, a muse, and increasingly, a teacher. For millennia, humanity has looked up at that bright wandering star and woven stories around it. Today, we look again, not with myth, but with data, and find that Jupiter still has lessons to offer about survival, responsibility, and our place in the universe. Long before telescopes, Jupiter's brilliance captivated human imagination. Ancient Mesopotamians recorded its movements carefully, treating it as an omen. To the Babylonians, Jupiter was Marduk, the god, who created order out of chaos. To the Greeks, it was Zeus, wielder of thunderbolts. To the Romans, it became Jupiter, king of gods and protector of the state. Across civilizations, the largest planet was consistently linked to power, authority, and guardianship. It was never just another light in the sky, it was a cosmic ruler. And it makes sense. Even without understanding its physics, humans sensed its significance. The largest, brightest wanderer in the heavens felt important, as though it were watching over Earth. Art, poetry, and astrology echoed this intuition. Jupiter meant protection, expansion, benevolence. Our ancestors didn't know about its gravity or its role in deflecting comets, but they sensed the truth in metaphorical form. In that way, myth anticipated science. Fast forward to the modern era. Galileo's telescope showed that Jupiter was not a point of light, but a world with moon. Centuries later, spacecraft like Voyager, Galileo, and Juno revealed a planet of storms, belts, auroras, and mysteries. The myths painted Jupiter as a ruler. The science confirmed it as a force of domination, not divine, but gravitational. And in both cases, the underlying intuition was the same. Jupiter shapes destiny. Today, when we send probes to orbit Jupiter, we are not only seeking data, we are continuing a conversation that humanity began thousands of years ago, trying to understand why that planet looms so large in our story. But here is where myth turns into responsibility. Jupiter cannot protect us from everything. Asteroids still strike Earth. Comets still wander inward. The dinosaurs remind us that even with Jupiter, catastrophe is possible, which means we face a choice. Do we rely on Jupiter as our eternal shield, or do we take responsibility for building shields of our own? That's the essence of planetary defense. Around the world, astronomers scan the skies for near-Earth objects, asteroids, and comets that could threaten our planet. Programs like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office track thousands of potential hazards. Telescopes sweep the heavens, not just for curiosity, but for survival. And here's the remarkable part. For the first time in Earth's history, one species, ours, has the capacity to prevent an asteroid impact. In 2022, NASA's DART mission successfully redirected a small asteroid, Dimorphos, by slamming a spacecraft into it. It was a proof of concept, humanity showing that we need not wait passively for extinction. We can, in principle, deflect the next dinosaur killer. In other words, we are learning to be our own Jupiter. This is one of the most profound shifts in history. For billions of years, life on Earth was at the mercy of cosmic accidents. Now, for the first time, awareness gives us agency. If Jupiter is the natural guardian, humanity is becoming the conscious one. We are, in effect, building planetary insurance policies, testing technologies, coordinating globally, and preparing for the long game. Because, unlike climate change or war, asteroid impacts are not if, they are when. Jupiter reduces the odds, but it cannot eliminate them. The responsibility falls on us, and here lies the deeper reflection. Civilization is fragile. All of human history, the pyramids, the libraries, the music, the science, the languages, exists on a thin geological layer, easily wiped away by a single rock from space. When we remember that, it puts our conflicts into perspective. Political borders, ideological battles, economic rivalries, all seem trivial compared to the existential threats we share. Jupiter's role reminds us that survival is collective. It protects Earth as a whole, not one nation or tribe. And if we are to take responsibility for our own planetary defense, we must think the same way, not as fractured groups, but as one species, one planet. So what does Jupiter teach us? First, humility. We owe our existence partly to forces beyond our control. A planet 500 million miles away, composed mostly of gas, silently shapes our destiny. Second, perspective. Survival is not just local, it is cosmic. We are embedded in a system of balances, both fragile and powerful. Third, responsibility. If Jupiter has been our protector, it has also been our warning. It says, I can shield you some of the time, but not forever. The rest is up to you. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson. Because once we learn to protect Earth, we may apply that same awareness to other worlds. Imagine one day terraforming Mars, or colonizing moons like Europa or Titan. Those future societies will face the same cosmic risks. They too will need shields. And maybe, in some distant future, humanity will take Jupiter's role not just for Earth, but for other worlds, building systems that protect life wherever it emerges, becoming not just survivors, but guardians. That is the arc of progress, from being protected to becoming protectors. So when we look at Jupiter, we should see more than clouds and storms. We should see a parable, a giant who shields us without thanks, a force that occasionally harms, but more often saves, a presence that shaped our past, influences our present, and challenges our future. Jupiter does not ask for gratitude, but it invites us to grow to match its guardianship with our own, to become the kind of species that not only survives, but ensures survival for all who come after. Because if a ball of gas can shield life, what excuse do we have not to do the same? We have followed Jupiter from myth to mathematics, from a bright dot in the sky to a planetary guardian, from a symbol of divine kingship to a gas giant whose gravity may be one of the reasons life exists on Earth. We've seen it absorb comets, scatter asteroids, stabilize Earth's orbit, and perhaps even sculpt the very architecture of our solar system. And now we arrive at the most important part of this journey. What does it mean for us? Think of this. Every tree, every ocean, every poem, every human heart beating across the planet exists because the solar system has been stable long enough for life to flourish. That stability is partly Earth's doing its position in the habitable zone, its protective magnetic field, but also Jupiter's. Without Jupiter, Earth might have been pummeled into sterility billions of years ago. With Jupiter, the cosmic shooting gallery was thinned enough for life to take hold. But Jupiter is not perfect protection. We know this from the dinosaurs. We know this from craters across Earth and the Moon. Its guardianship is powerful but partial, and that leaves us with a sobering truth. Survival cannot be outsourced entirely to the cosmos. At some point, the responsibility must pass to us. When humanity first reached the Moon, it was not merely an act of exploration. It was a rehearsal for survival. We learned to build rockets capable of reaching beyond Earth. We learned to live even briefly in space. And in that process, we discovered something transformative. Earth itself, from the vantage point of the Moon, we saw our planet whole for the first time, tiny, fragile, a blue marble in the blackness. That image, Earthrise, changed us. It ignited the environmental movement. It reminded us that we are one species, one planet, one fragile home. Now imagine this. If Jupiter has been protecting Earth for billions of years, then Apollo was humanity's first step toward taking up that responsibility ourselves. A rehearsal for a day when we might need to deflect an asteroid, colonize another world, or carry life beyond Earth. Jupiter was the first guardian. The torch now passes to us. So the question is not whether Jupiter protects us, it does. The question is, will we protect ourselves? We now have the technology to detect incoming asteroids. We have tested the ability to deflect them. We are developing the capacity to live beyond Earth. The challenge is not capability, it is will. Will we choose to act like guardians or like gamblers, waiting for the next cosmic roll of the dice? Because history teaches us this: civilizations fall not only from external threats, but from internal blindness. Rome collapsed less from invasion than from neglect. Ecosystems collapse less from cataclysm than from apathy. If we fail to recognize our cosmic fragility, we risk repeating those patterns on a planetary scale. In the end, Jupiter is a mirror. It shows us that survival depends on forces beyond our control. It humbles us by reminding us that we live because a gas giant 500 million miles away absorbs comets. It challenges us by revealing that even with its protection, extinction remains possible. And in that mirror, we see ourselves. We see that human civilization depends on stabilizers' truth, empathy, cooperation, just as Earth depends on Jupiter's gravity. Remove those stabilizers, and society wobbles. Keep them, and we flourish. Jupiter is not only a planet, it is a parable. So where do we go from here? We build planetary defense systems, not just telescopes and rockets, but the global cooperation needed to use them. We invest in science, not because it is convenient, but because it is survival. We expand into space, not to escape Earth, but to ensure that life's story continues, even if catastrophe comes. And perhaps one day, we will do for other worlds what Jupiter has done for us. We will become the protectors, the stabilizers, the guardians of life wherever it arises. That is the arc of evolution, not just from single cells to complex beings, but from protected to protectors. So tonight, when you look up and see Jupiter glowing like a bright star in the night sky, don't just see a planet. See your guardian. See the reason life had a chance to thrive. See a giant who has been silently watching over us for billions of years. But also see the challenge it sets before us. Jupiter can protect us much of the time, but not always. The rest is up to us. And in that realization lies our greatest responsibility: to become for Earth what Jupiter has been for us, to be the shield, the stabilizer, the guardian not just of survival, but of the wonder that makes survival worth it. Because whether we live under Jupiter's shadow or not, the universe asks us the same question: will you take responsibility for the future of life? And may our answer be worthy of the gift we've been given. Imagine this paradox. In an age when we can beam high-resolution images of galaxies millions of light years away, when we can detect ripples in space-time itself, gravitational waves from the collision of black holes, we still struggle to grasp the fragile thread that makes life possible right here on Earth. We often speak of Earth as if it were inevitable, as if life, intelligence, and civilization were destined to arise. But the deeper we look into the cosmos, the clearer it becomes. Life on Earth may be less a certainty and more a miracle of improbable balances. And at the center of that improbability, there is a guardian we rarely think about. A planet that most of us glance over in textbooks, marveling at its colorful bands and iconic red spot, but never pausing to ask, what role does it play in our survival? That planet is Jupiter. To the untrained eye, Jupiter is just a gas giant. A colossal ball of hydrogen and helium, swirling storms larger than Earth itself. But to astronomers and planetary scientists, Jupiter is more than scenery. It is a shield, a protector, a gravitational juggernaut that may be the reason Earth is still here intact, habitable, and alive. Because without Jupiter, the history of Earth might have ended before it ever began. Picture this: you're standing on Earth 4 billion years ago, at the dawn of the solar system. The sky above is not serene, but violent. Meteors blaze through the atmosphere daily. Comets crash into oceans. Asteroids rain down like cosmic artillery. It was quite literally a shooting gallery. The young solar system was filled with debris fragments of rock and ice left over from the birth of planets. Any one of these projectiles striking Earth at the wrong time could have sterilized it completely. In fact, some scientists believe Earth was struck by an object the size of Mars, an apocalyptic collision that ripped away part of our planet and gave birth to the moon. Now imagine, what if such collisions never stopped? What if Earth had remained under constant bombardment for billions of years? Life might never have had the quiet stability it needed to evolve from chemistry into biology, from microbes into mammals, from mammals into humans. And here enters Jupiter. With its immense gravity, 318 times the mass of Earth-Jupiter, acts like a cosmic vacuum cleaner. It tugs on comets, asteroids, and debris, capturing many into its orbit or flinging them out of the solar system entirely. Instead of slamming into Earth, countless objects have been swallowed by Jupiter's vast bulk or deflected into harmless trajectories. In this way, Jupiter may be the silent bodyguard of life. We live, breathe, and evolve under its watchful presence, whether we notice it or not. But of course, the story is never that simple. Some astronomers argue that Jupiter may not only protect life, but also endanger it. Its immense gravity doesn't just deflect comets. Sometimes it redirects them inward toward the inner planets. In other words, Jupiter may be both shield and sword. Perhaps the reason Earth has experienced occasional mass extinctions like the impact that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago is precisely because Jupiter nudged an asteroid onto a collision course. So here's the paradox. Jupiter may be both our protector and our occasional executioner. Without it, perhaps Earth would have been sterilized long ago. With it, Earth still faces catastrophic impacts, though less frequently. And that raises a profound question. What does it mean to be alive in a universe where survival depends not only on biology, but on the gravitational whims of distant giants? When we look at Jupiter, we see more than swirling clouds and colored bands. We see a metaphor for our own condition. Jupiter is both shield and threat, savior and executioner. And isn't that true of many things in human civilization? Nuclear power, for example, can light cities or level them. Artificial intelligence can cure diseases or destabilize societies. Technology, like Jupiter, protects and endangers. It is not the tool itself, but how it is used and how we respond that determines survival. The cosmos, in this sense, is not just out there, it is reflected in us. And here's the bigger picture. What Jupiter does for Earth, other giants may do for other planets in other solar systems. When astronomers search for exoplanets, worlds beyond our sun, they don't just look for Earth-like planets in the habitable zone. They also ask, is there a Jupiter-like guardian nearby? Because without one, those Earth-like worlds may never get the stability needed for life to take root, which means Jupiter may not just be protecting us. It may be one reason life is rare in the universe. Perhaps the cosmos is filled with planets like Earth, but without a Jupiter? Most of them are cosmic shooting ranges, sterilized before life can flourish. And if that is true, then Jupiter is not just a planet. It is one of the reasons you and I are here, breathing, thinking, asking questions about existence. So the next time you look at the night sky and you see Jupiter glowing like a bright star, remember that distant point of light may be one of the reasons Earth is still intact. We often imagine our survival depends only on what we do here on Earth, and of course our choices matter profoundly. But Jupiter reminds us that survival is also cosmic. It is shaped by forces far beyond our control, by giants we can barely comprehend. And in that realization comes humility. Because if a gas giant, hundreds of millions of miles away, plays a role in our existence, then perhaps nothing about our survival should be taken for granted. Look closely at Earth's surface, and you'll find scars. Some are hidden beneath oceans. Others softened by erosion, but the record is there. Earth has been struck again and again by cosmic projectiles. Arizona holds a mile-wide scar called Meteor Crater, the result of a rock the size of a house slamming into Earth 50,000 years ago. 66 million years ago, a much larger rock 6 miles across hit what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The blast triggered firestorms, tsunamis, and a nuclear winter of dust. The dinosaurs, who had ruled Earth for 150 million years, were gone within a geological heartbeat. To call these events catastrophic is an understatement. And yet, catastrophe can be strangely creative. That extinction cleared the ecological stage for mammals, who until then had lived mostly in the shadows. From mammals came primates, and from primates came us. The very impact that ended one world made our world possible. But why didn't impacts like that happen more often? Why did Earth get long enough stretches of peace for complex life to take hold? Here again, the answer may be Jupiter. Jupiter's gravity deflects many comets and asteroids before they ever reach Earth. But sometimes, paradoxically, its gravity nudges them toward us. The dinosaur-killing asteroid may well have been one of Jupiter's gifts or curses. And this is the strange duality of our cosmic guardian. Jupiter is not only protector, it is also judge. It decides who gets through and who doesn't. We saw this duality in 1994 when comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 collided with Jupiter. The fragments, torn apart by Jupiter's tidal forces, slammed into its atmosphere with the energy of millions of nuclear bombs. Earth watched as the solar system's heavyweight took the hit. Had those fragments come our way, civilization would have ended. But they didn't. Jupiter absorbed them. That week, astronomers watched through telescopes and felt a collective shiver of humility. Because survival, we realized, often depends not on our own cleverness, but on where the dice fall in the cosmic casino. Impacts, then, are not only threats, they are shapers. They prune the evolutionary tree, they dictate which species rise and which vanish. Too many impacts, and life is extinguished. Too few, and evolution stagnates. With just the right rhythm, extinction, renewal, survival complexity emerges. We are, in a very real sense, children of extinction. We owe our existence to the fact that some worlds were destroyed and others survived. Jupiter is the conductor of that rhythm, guiding the tempo of catastrophe and reprieve. Not always kind, not always cruel, but always decisive. And this invites a haunting thought. If Jupiter's orbit were slightly different, if its mass were smaller or larger, Earth's story might be unrecognizable. We might not be here to ask the question at all. So is our existence a cosmic accident, or the inevitable outcome of a carefully balanced system? Astronomers now search other solar systems for answers. They don't just look for Earth-like planets, they also look for Jupiter-like guardians. Without a giant nearby, many Earths may be doomed to lifelessness, pummeled endlessly until chemistry never has the chance to become biology, which suggests that life may not be as common as we once thought. Perhaps there are billions of planets like Earth, but only a fraction with the protective hand of a Jupiter. And that would mean our existence is rarer still. Think of the chain of improbabilities. A star the right size, a planet the right distance, an atmosphere thick enough but not too thick, oceans stable for billions of years, and a gas giant in just the right orbit to take the worst blows. The more we learn, the more miraculous our own survival appears. And yet, Jupiter does not guarantee safety. Its shield is powerful but incomplete. The scars on Earth remind us of that. The dinosaurs remind us of that. Civilization itself rests on the edge of probability stable most of the time, vulnerable when the dice come up wrong. That duality should not terrify us. It should awaken us. Because if Jupiter is both protector and threat, then our survival depends not only on its gravity, but on our awareness. It is not enough to trust the giant. We must become guardians ourselves. And here lies the deeper reflection. Just as Earth depends on Jupiter for stability, human civilization depends on unseen stabilizers of its own truth, empathy, cooperation, responsibility. Remove those, and society wobbles. Keep them, and it flourishes. The lesson of Jupiter is the lesson of civilization. Survival is never guaranteed. It is earned again and again by recognizing fragility and choosing responsibility. So when we look at Jupiter, we should not just see a distant giant swirling with storms. We should see a mirror, a reminder that protection is never absolute, that survival is always conditional, and that awareness is the first step toward responsibility. We've traced Jupiter's role from myth to mathematics, from shaping the infant solar system to absorbing deadly comets, from inspiring gods in the ancient sky to guiding modern science toward the possibility of life beyond Earth. We've seen it as a shield, a sword, an architect, and a mirror, a paradox that both protects and endangers, stabilizes and disrupts, saves and threatens. And now, as we stand on Earth, fragile, conscious, fleeting, the real question is not what Jupiter does for us. It is what we will do for ourselves. Think of what Jupiter has already given us. Billions of years of relative stability. A chance for chemistry to become biology. For biology to become consciousness. For consciousness to become civilization. But Jupiter cannot guarantee our future. It can take the blows of some comets, but not all. It can stabilize Earth's orbit, but it cannot save us from our own neglect. It can shield us from the cosmos, but not from ourselves. The dinosaurs learned that protection is never absolute. Their world ended in fire because no one could stop the asteroid that slipped through. We, however, are not powerless. For the first time in history, one species, ours, has the ability to foresee, prepare, and act. Jupiter gave us time. What we do with that time is up to us. In 2022, humanity proved something extraordinary. NASA's DART mission intentionally slammed a spacecraft into a small asteroid and nudged its orbit. It was a small step, but it meant something profound. For the first time, Earth changed the course of a celestial body. That was more than science. It was responsibility. It was humanity saying, we will not wait passively for extinction. We will learn to be our own Jupiter. Imagine what that means. For 4.5 billion years, life on Earth was at the mercy of impacts. Now, for the first time, life has built a shield of its own. From prey to guardian, from protected to protector. That arc of progress is the essence of our story. But Jupiter teaches us something even deeper. It reminds us that civilization is fragile, that survival depends on stabilizers we often overlook: trust, truth, cooperation, compassion. When those hold, society orbits steadily. When they falter, we wobble. Just as Jupiter steadies Earth, we must steady one another. We cannot choose the existence of cosmic giants, but we can choose whether to act like guardians or like gamblers, whether to protect the conditions for life or squander them. Jupiter is not just a planet, it is a parable. When humanity first left Earth for the moon, it was more than a Cold War contest. It was a rehearsal for survival. We learned to leave our cradle. We learned to see our planet whole. We learned that we are one species on one fragile world. That perspective was a gift as great as the rockets themselves. And perhaps that is the ultimate parallel. Jupiter gave Earth the chance to survive. Apollo gave humanity the awareness to protect. The next steps, building shields, colonizing new worlds, becoming guardians, not only of Earth, but of life itself, are ours to take. So, the next time you see Jupiter shining in the night sky, don't just see a planet, see your guardian. See the silent giant that swallowed comets so you could breathe. See the architect of a solar system that gave Earth its chance. But also see the challenge it leaves us, because Jupiter cannot always protect us. The responsibility is shifting now to us, to our technology, to our cooperation, to our choices. The universe asks us a question. Will you take up the role of guardianship? Will you protect not only yourselves, but the wonder of life itself? And may our answer be this: yes. We will take what Jupiter has given us: time, stability, a chance, and we will use it. we will build our own shields. We will become protectors, not just of Earth, but of the story of life in the cosmos. Because if a ball of gas 500 million miles away can keep watch over us, then surely we, conscious and capable, can do the same for one another. And when future generations on Earth, or on Mars, or on the moons of Jupiter itself, look back at us, let them not say they survived by accident. Let them say they survived because they chose responsibility. That is the legacy worth leaving. That is the shield worth building. That is why Jupiter may be protecting life on Earth, so that one day we may learn to do the same.